Welcome back, everyone. Before we get on to the next game, I have been joined by Misfits coach Hussain Moosvi. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a new year for Misfits. You guys went to the quarterfinals last year. You added 2 more players, and you said before that they brought more flexibility within the team. How does it work?
Basically, when we went into the off-season, I was looking for 2 players that could communicate efficiently with everything that I wanted and who could play aggressively and defensively with a wide array of champion pools. And I'm really happy that we found that in both Sencux and Mikyx.
Well, you have 2 more players and you have also to train for a new format. How does it feel to coach a team for best of 1 this year?
For me personally, it's like pretty challenging because I've only coached in best of 3 or best of 5s mostly, but it's a fun challenge because you really prepare for like just one match and try to come up with one strategy for what you think is best, and then the other team does the same, and it's like a clash of the 2 teams and like who brought a better plan for the day.
And we've said it before, but Misfits played so well last year. Do you feel like there's some kind of pressure in the players coming to this year?
I don't think we feel any extra pressure because even though we didn't have too much pressure from the community last year, we had a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we have the same amount of pressure this year to perform. So we've always put a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform to the best that we can, and we're doing the same thing for this year as well.
Well, and we'll see about that in just a few minutes. Thank you very much for joining me, and good luck for your game.
Thank you.
We're going to send it back to the analyst desk with Mikyx and Vedius.
Thank you, Laure. I'm Aaron Medic Chamberlain, and joining me is Andrew Vedius Day. How do you do, good sir?
I am excellent, good sir. How the devil are you?
Oh, I'm quite well, good sir. It's
wonderful,
a
wonderful
evening to be here in Berlin. Now let's take a look at Misfits' opponents H2k, because last week something magical happened. Their newly formed roster showed us just how good a team they can actually be. Comprising of 2 talented rookies and 3 veteran players, H2k have been widely slated to be around the bottom of the pack. However, their performance against Fnatic painted an entirely different picture. Now, Vedius, when we took a look at the game throughout the week, when you analysed, when you broke things down, when you did your colour casting notes,
as I do,
stuff, you noticed something rather intriguing.
Quite right, yes. Something rather intriguing indeed. I noticed that with regards to the H2k lineup, they were actually surprisingly good at team fighting, more specifically, and when they chose to fight against this Fnatic roster. Because you look at it and you think, okay, there's a lot of young players. You talked about 2 rookies, 3 veterans. You'd think that team fighting would be in the advantage of Fnatic, right? This is an experienced roster. They went 11-2 during the regular season, but H2k would pick these very intelligent fights, and often they would wait for a lot of the enemy ultimates to be on cooldown, or they would just wait for their oppositions to be slightly overextended, where they would immediately look to punish. So to illustrate that, we're going to have a look at a replay on your screen. So to illustrate right now, the thing to note is Fnatic, they do have a man advantage, but they've used so many ultimates trying to get that kill, and the moment Rekkles is slightly out of position, they strike. They go for the initiation. Sheriff and Caedrel diving onto the front line, not afraid to dive into the face of these veteran players, and it's just such confidence to see from these individuals. The fact that they're able to find all these successful fights. They did this multiple times throughout this game, and it was very impressive to watch.
It was only one example there of something that they, as you said, they did time and time again throughout that game. They capitalized on these mistakes that Fnatic made. The key one being that first mistake Fnatic made as they went all the way to try and chase the Braum, and then H2k flanked them. We saw Sheriff and Caedrel popping off, which was just incredible for 2 rookies on the stage. You have to remember, it was only their 2nd game on the EU LCS stage. These rookies coming in, it's not often you see players have that much of an impact this early on in a split.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at these 2 individuals, expectations were low, but they play these hyper-aggressive champions like Cassidy and Vayne that when in the late game, they can't afford to be that, in your face, super playmaking, really high risk, high reward. But in the early game, it can often hurt them as the game goes on in terms of the early portion. And that's where we saw some of the true strengths of this Fnatic roster. So just looking at some of the damage percentage and the amount of impact they were able to have on this game, very impressive for these young rookies.
It definitely was. With H2k playing against Misfits today, what is it that you think H2k need to improve on to be able to take down Misfits?
Well, as exciting as these champions are, I'd love to see a little bit more focus on the early game, whether that be just making sure you have at least some strong early game laners so that you don't lose all 3 lanes right from the get-go. Maybe just a jungler that can have a little bit more impact in the early game. I'd like to see more of. Don't rely on scaling. Show us some of that talent that I expect these players to now have.
I mean, Veteran's always been very outspoken about how good he is at drafting. He was when he was on H2k as their head analyst, and now, originally with Sjokz, now across to H2k again. Do you think that Veteran will understand the draft well enough in a best-of-1 format to be able to get these earlier game compositions?
Well, I imagine that they're going to learn a lot from what happened last week. I'm expecting that things will change up. We've already seen earlier in the day that in terms of the draft, there are going to be higher priorities. Galio, for example, is becoming a lot more relevant in the current meta. So I think that Veteran will be able to improve his draft. I'm saying that it's not his fault, for example, but I imagine that improvements will be made in the draft. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this young roster will be able to do with the lineup.
And it's interesting to me, Vedius, that Best of One have brought out all of these upsets. We're starting to see maybe slightly more niche picks in the Skarner, in the Veigar come out in these individual matches that can actually win a team a game. Do you think there's anything that we've yet to discover about the meta on 8.1?
Well, over in Korea, they have been bringing out things like the Rengar. Top lane Gangplank hasn't really had a huge influence. We've seen it from time to time from some of the teams. But in terms of secret power picks, I'm yet to know some of these secrets. I really would like to see something like a Xerath come out either in support or mid.
We'll have to wait and see if H2k can complete their winning today against Misfits. Let's hand it over to our casters and get on into the game.
Joined by Martin Deficio. Welcome, Deficio, back to the casting desk.
Thank you.
That's it? That's all you got for me?
You said welcome, I said thank you.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's check out the teams on stage, starting on the blue side with Misfits Gaming. As we jump into this roster, top lane is going to be Alphari. Jungle is Maxlore. Mid lane, Sencux. AD carry Hussain. Support Mikyx and coach Hussain Moosvi.
Who is the jungler again?
I called him Maxlore.
Maxlore in the jungle.
Maxlore,
I like
baby.
It.
Let's go.
On the other side today, they are playing against H2k though. Up in the top lane, we have Smittyj, Santorin in the jungle, Caedrel mid lane, Sheriff AD carry, and Promisq down in support with, of course, Veteran as the coach behind him, the man on the screen. I call him a bit of a madman because last week he drafted Vayne and Caedrel and Vladimir together against a Sivir. He got pushed in every single lane. His team fell behind a lot, actually. But
a lot, yeah.
He felt confident that this team could punish Fnatic and beat them in the late game, and they did.
This team of rookies. We look at it, the two biggest factors in that win. Rookie AD carry, rookie mid laner. Caedrel, Vayne. Like, that's fair to call him a madman. Insanely big gamble coming out, but they were able to pull it through. And now we want to see if we get that same kind of wild enthusiasm for late game picks.
Well, it just means, you know, this team, they're not afraid to take some chances in the pick and ban phase if they feel like it is the correct team to do it against. They very clearly felt like they could beat Fnatic with the late game comp. Let's see though now. I also want to say, I feel a little bit bad for Misfits because day one, the first game of EU LCS 2018, they played Galio mid lane. And everyone laughed at them because it didn't work. It fell flat on their face, or on its face. And now, a week later, in the LCK, everyone is playing Galio. It was banned both games today as well, so far. So it actually seemed like Misfits were just a step ahead of the rest.
We thought they were behind the curve.
But they were ahead of the curve.
When they picked not Targan's bot lane, but they were ahead.
Oh, another Galio ban right there. Sencux, he knew Galio was actually a good pick.
And it's such a pick that has been so successful for him, but now a lot of AD carries still left open, rather just one, as so many have been banned out. Kog'Maw gets taken, but the immediate Azir response, is this a trade that's actually worth it?
Well, it depends on what answer they have against the Azir. The Veigar, we saw Betsy play that earlier, a lot of success. Zoe was available in this one. Sencux happy to grab that one. Basically, Misfits Gaming came into this tournament, this season, and said, Xayah Rakan is still strong. Dorn's played AD carry for Xayah. That didn't work for them. Now they're playing super scaling bot lane here with Hussain and Mikyx. It's not about winning lane anymore. It's about just getting into the late game. So that is a change. H2k though, also matching with a lot of good late game.
A lot of scaling, as you already mentioned.
Surprise, this meta is all late game.
Yeah, late game all the time. We've got the classic melee support matchup right now. Tahm Kench versus Braum coming through. Now, Zoe versus Azir feels like a pretty big focus point for both these teams, as it's one of the only mid lane matchups in the meta that I feel like anyone can actually win in the early to mid game.
And one thing I'd like to see against Zoe is early game junglers. Because you could gank Zoe pretty easily, especially once you're at level 6 on Azir. Swoop in there, knock her back. She can't get out with her ulti. You can try and punish her there. Or you just need something for the late game that can block her damage. And there's a Braum already locked in on H2k side, kind of predicting that Zoe. So Braum can be the MVP pick to stop the Zoe poke from landing.
But despite how important an early game jungler could be, no bans being targeted that way. Instead, top lane is the focus. Of course, it is Smittyj versus Alphari, two very strong players in their own right. Now we're finally seeing jungle bans come in the form of the Cousins.
Yeah, still a lot of good jungle choices. Senjuani is not picked yet. Jarvan is not shown either. The Skana has been played 2 games in a row now here in the EU LCS. I'm actually surprised to see Senjuani fall this far down in the draft. I still think she is far and away the best jungle pick. Not my man Udyr. He's a little bit further down the tier list. Near where the Garen jungle is at.
Near it, still I think healthily above the Garen jungle.
Slightly.
In the fact that he can actually clear it. But Jarvan will be the lock-in, so we are sticking to the meta picks. No Udyr this time around. I think we have to imagine that Sjokz is the most common response at this point. And Misfits,
oh yeah, it would be weird
if it
wasn't. Yeah, please. You gotta lock it in. Top lane as well. Gnar is something we've seen quite a lot. It is a little bit risky to blind pick him, but I still think if you are a good Gnar player, you can survive any matchup.
And so far, now that we see the Misfits gaming comp locked in, what is your impression of their goals as they move through this game?
Oh, it's a late game, baby. Oh, it's so much late game. They can play around topside early with the Gnar, depending on what we get from Smittyj. I wonder if he wants to show us the Jace. Oh, actually, that's banned away, so he can't. He probably wanted to. Misfits.
Misfits said no.
Getting rid of
They're not interested. But the Vladimir coming out, I like this pick going into top lane.
I like it for, mid to late game. I think early on, Gnar can have a bit of pressure against him. Not necessarily where you shut him down in terms of farming, but you can at least trade really well against him, and you can play around topside here if you are Misfits, because Gnar will win the early skirmishes, which is something they can use, because bot lane, you're not really ganking that lane with the Tahm Kench.
Now, one thing that Vedius talked about before we got into Champion Select here was that H2k might need to draft more early game, a little bit more early game priority. Do you think this comp accomplishes that? Because there are still three champions who do want a decent amount of time to scale up.
I think there's a bit more early game here. I like the Jarvan pick, first of all, for Santorin. I also think Braum, Tristana in the bot lane can play fairly aggressive, and they by no means have to just surrender the bot lane like a Vayne will need to do early on. So I think there's definitely more tools here for H2k, while still having great scaling. Overall, it's actually a very well-rounded composition on the H2k side. I just want to see if Misfits will play around topside with the Gnar here, that they grab Alphari, and if they can actually use that to gain any sort of advantage, or if Misfits want to have 0 kills for about 25 minutes and just get to late game team
God,
fights.
that's the thing about this meta. It's like you want to pick enough scaling that you're a massive threat in the early or in the late game, but not so much scaling that you can't do anything in the early game. And it's just this fine line that every single team is treading, where they just want just enough in that early game that they can make it to late game.
Right, and you say, you don't want to have too weak of an early game, and I agree on that one. Yet we are seeing games require 3 Barons to be taken before you can realistically finish the game. So even if you fall behind 10,000 gold,
Yeah, let's do the. Should we do some
in this meta,
quick math there? So Barons 20 minutes.
yeah,
So we need 3 Barons.
you need at least 3.
Okay, so we have a minimum 38-minute game time if you take Baron in less than a second.
We've had 2 games today where I felt like there was quite a lot of action, and both games still went above 40 minutes. So very clearly, you need a lot of Barons, potentially an Elder Drake as well, before you can really push through.
All the late game objectives. Well, just as an update for anyone watching, they are remaking lobby, going through picks and bans quite quickly. All of the picks and bans are remaining the same, however, so it's just going through the process before we can get right into game, but no issues otherwise.
All right, so we already know the picks. Zoe is still a champion we have to look at. Whenever she's in the game, we know her pick potential is amazing. The fact that you can't really walk around the jungle against her because of the extra range she gets on that bubble, and if it connects, bam, you get CC'd and you might just die almost instantly. So she's another champion that kind of delays the game a little bit if she falls behind, because she is so difficult to play against.
And one of these champions that feels so unique in what they do, I think not as far out as Aurelion Sol and how unique she is, but does make you play the game a little bit differently. You're no longer standing close to those walls. You're always a little bit nervous when it comes to that sleep. You always kind of have to give her that respect because of how much burst damage is just available in the Paddle Star alone.
Second game now where H2k are fine giving away Zoe. They did the same thing against Fnatic, then they locked Caedrel against it. And it actually went okay for them. There were a few times where they got caught out. Like Smittyj got caught out twice actually, which cost them a bit in the mid to late game. But apart from that, they dealt with the Zoe pretty well. They need to do the same in this game here. I think with the Azir, they can do it. I just really like having very strong backline damage. So in this case, Azir and Tristana when you play against Zoe, because a lot of her team fighting is still trying to find that one pick with the bubble into a long nuke with your Q. So these big backline carries with a lot of consistent DPS can try and kill the tank before Zoe hits that bubble.
But as you mentioned, they have the Braum on the side of H2k, so they don't have to be too terrified. They have options to block it as long as the team is staying together. But if they split up, they get picked off. That can lead to a lot of big problems. The other thing I think we have to hit is who is playing this Zoe. Sencux picking this up here. I want to see how he's going to play on this, what he's going to do, what he's going to provide for the team. Because I feel like his Galio game, despite the fact that it went poorly for Misfits, was pretty good. But what else is he actually going to show us? Because when we look at Sencux across the ages, always a huge champion pool, but success on very few of those champions.
For him, it's been a quantity over quality sometimes, which definitely has been an issue. I think when he was the best was when he started playing roaming picks. Aurelion, Soul, the Galio as well. It was banned in this game, the Galio, so you couldn't go back to it. Instead, it is Zoe, where you can actually roam pretty effectively, because it's not about you necessarily appearing in the enemy lane, but on top lane is more firing these long-range CC abilities over the walls down to the bottom lanes, down to the enemy turret if you want to set up a tower dive. There's a lot of options there for Misfits if they can get Sencux out of the lane, which of course with the Jarvan on the other side, I can see H2k try and shut him down early. I actually really want to see that. Red buff, level 2 gank.
Level 2, just a flag and drag in, try to take him out.
Right there, force the flash, bam.
I mean, it feels rough, right? You get the spell thief level 2 on the side of Zoe. I guess you have to do it level 1.
Yeah, but yeah, Zoe's still level 1 while that happens, right? Because you just do red buff, instant mid.
That's insanely aggressive. Is there any drawback to playing that aggressive, to forcing something that early on?
I mean, only if someone can then actually start invading your other side of the map because they see you already. But you just go straight mid, straight over to your own blue buff, and then you're fine.
See if that is the option they want to go for. Misfits Gaming and H2k loading up. Two very interesting compositions. Surprise, surprise, as we've already mentioned. Lots of scaling on both sides. And the man on your screen, Sencux, does get his hands on Zoe. Gonna have to see what he can do with it.
Slick hair from Maxlore today. On fire. Santorin as well.
I mean, that's the Santorin classic, though. Look at that.
Look at that Danish chin.
I was going to say the same thing. Zoom in on it. Give the crowd what they want. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. Misfits Gaming versus H2k. Maxlore's sweet hair versus Santorin's chin. Let's go.
I don't know who's winning that one. That's an even battle.
Vote at home. Hashtag chin win, hashtag hair win. But of course, it is important to keep an eye on the early game. Deficio, as you already mentioned, the level 2 gank, something we're keeping our eyes on. And more importantly, H2k's early game as a whole. Is this going to be another game where they need to stall out, where they need to wait for late game? Or can they find some more proactive plays this time around against Misfits?
Yeah, again, I like the fact they have ganking jungler, playing around... Disgusting, Mickey. Interrupting me right there. But I think playing around bot side is just so hard in this meta because there's stopwatches, there's Tahm Kench.
I mean,
so you go for the tower dives. Yeah, there's double targets. Like, it's so hard to dive bot lane, which is why I want to see more teams to switch top side. And again, I think with Gnar against Vladimir, there's actually options on both sides to attack that lane and see if you can snowball your top laner. Santorin is not looking for the red buff level 2 gank at the moment. He is starting on the blue buff. Gets help from his bot lane as well.
Of course, now as you can see the runes up on your screen, take a chance to go through them. It doesn't look like anything too out of the ordinary here. You can't see the fleet footwork on Sjokz.
Yeah, we've seen that quite a few times. I still think Aftershock is really good on it, but fleet also does make sense.
You get a lot of sustain as you clear the jungle. If you play her casually, you know that it's a little tough on the first clear to clear comfortably. So,
oh, they're gonna find each other. Fight!
And important to land those stacks for Braum, but looks like Promisq and Sheriff just want to back off. Not interested in extending the trade there.
But Misfits, of course, got some information that H2k's bottom lane came from the blue buff, so they're probably calling. Santorin is starting on that side. And, of course, H2k will communicate the exact same thing that Misfits started on the bottom side with the dual lane and Maxlore. So both junglers should roughly know where they are. Also seeing as none of them were actually cheesing with the leashes right there.
And it doesn't look like we're going to see the hyper-aggressive early play from Santorin. See what he wants to do is he picks up his second buff in level 3. Should be a little bit easier for Sencux to play safe in this lane, but still not a lot, really no escapes outside of the flash available for Zoe early on.
Will be fun also to follow Caedrel here. We'll talk about it after we see if Santorin and Maxlore are going to fight each other. This appears to be a no. So Caedrel, day one when he played in week 1, so last week, it was a rough first game.
I mean,
first game on stage, you know, you're a rookie, it is tough. I think his casting game was much better. He bounced back really well, especially in late game fights. He had great positioning and found good flanks. I want to see now a very good Azir performance, because when you take an Azir this early in the draft, you are telling your mid laner, we need you to be one of the main carries.
absolutely. The move later and later, it's going to be more and more important primary source of magic damage for the team. Luckily, Smittyj is there as well, so if they coordinate, it should be very easy for them to cut through the front line or the back line of Misfits if they're given the opportunity. But for now, they're just playing the pushing game. Azir has the advantage. We'll see if, as Zoe gets more points in the paddle star, she can start to combat this. Or Sencux is just going to be locked into this tower for a little bit longer.
Well, if you want to push the lane as a as a Zoe, you got to start hitting the minions a little bit from the side with your Q, so you're actually connecting onto like 3 caster minions, shoot it out to one side, and then bounce it back in towards the minion wave. Otherwise, you only hit 1 or 2 each time, and then Azir with the soldiers will just perma push the lane over and over. So we got to see if Sencux will do that later, try and actually push back. For now, though, Drakos, that early gank I was hoping for did not happen, and we're currently 4 minutes in, and no one is hitting each other in the face yet.
Well, as long as we're waiting for these champions to scale up, as long as we're looking for those early game plays, let's talk a little bit about Misfits, because this is an interesting team, right? We talked a lot about the roster swaps last week. I think we should bring it up again, because a lot of people, obviously, have a lot of things to say about PoE, but regardless of what you have to say, he was a huge part of Misfits' damage. And now without him here, we're seeing an interesting shift across the team in terms of who is actually bearing the damage burden on Misfits.
Yeah, week 1, it was a lot more about the top lane. You can see 20% in 2017 to now 32% from Alphari, and the big reason for that was his Gangplank, one of the best Gangplank performances we've seen in Europe recently. With insane KDAs, he was part of almost all the kills and did so much of his team's damage. Smittyj and Maxlore will find each other. Maxlore is on his way. I mean, of course, Alphari.
4 stacks. The stun is still going to be there as he comes out. Stopwatch is not available yet, but a lot of healing.
But walking away was available, and he did. No fights other than that one.
It's a tough situation to be in, because unfortunately Alphari in Gnar at that point. A lot of bursts, not a lot of sustained damage. Smittyj is just too healthy for them to really commit.
To go back, though, to the point about Misfits and who deals the damage, we have to highlight the Galio game was in there, so of course Sencux didn't deal a lot of damage in that one specifically. And we just have to follow the trend. If they're moving more away from mid lane, being the majority damage dealer, more onto Hansama, more onto Alphari, or if it will actually be Sencux once we get later on into the split. Zoe is a champion who normally is very high on the meters, so we have to see if this is the game where he can actually be the big carry.
As is the trend for poke champions. Now it's interesting to see where Misfits have set up their vision. We talked about bot lane kind of both sides wanting to scale. Looks like Misfits are aware of this because you see Santorin and Maxlore fighting over vision on the H2k side of the map. The vast majority of the wards placed on the top side for both teams. They know where the action's going to be at. Some of that, of course, already cleared up. Santorin being very diligent at taking down the vision.
Well, Sencux did swap to teleport, as we often see with the spellbook. Hurry back to lane after your first back, get a push into the turret, and try and keep Azir there. If he can roam, top lane is an option. We mentioned it already. Nice poke he's landing at the moment onto Caedrel. It's not a good idea to stand at your caster minions when you're against Zoe, because she will just hit those, and it will, of course, hit you.
Yeah, not a massive AoE, but a decent size. Good play coming in from Sencux, clearly comfortable on the champion as he finds
very low.
the right angle. That's why Mickey's there, ready to put him in his belly. How a catfish fits an entire bear and human woman in his stomach is beyond me, but there you go.
I think once you have gotten room for the bear, getting room for the woman is pretty easy.
It's kind of secondary, I suppose. Well, now Santorin confident enough to invade, courtesy of the information that Maxlore was so low, so he could just take this red buff. This is actually a good use of the pressure Azir has in the mid lane from the side of H2k.
Yeah, Maxlore's sitting on 1,000 gold right now. No wards left either for him. So the fact he stayed gave a lot of tempo over to H2k to get good deep vision, steal a buff. Sencux also needs to be very careful. He's hovering top side, knowing, of course, that on the bottom side there's a Jarvan with red buff.
Still an XP advantage, however. Over to Maxlore. So if they can force any kind of engage before Santorin is able to get 6, they will have advantage. Unlikely, though, given the pace of the game thus far.
Still the pre-game. Still warming up.
Warming up.
This is going to be one of those games in this meta where there will be big late-game team fights. But before that, it is hard to predict if the teams are going to go too crazy. I think, again, game 1 and game 2, we actually had a lot more early action than we've seen last week, which was very good to see from the teams. This game here, both teams have a lot of scaling on their sides and happy just farming.
This is a bit more the classic meta, I think, that we've seen from 8.1. No on Tahm and Mikyx. Getting a little cozy there. Of course, Tahm Kench perpetually just going to stop any kind of aggression, really from either side. Extended fights, always a good use for him.
We're still on patch 8.1, so Relic Shield not nerfed or changed just yet. Also why you see a Sightstone, of course, on Mikyx's side. Not changed over either. Double Relic Shield AD carries. One of the reasons we get the passive bot lanes. So much extra sustain, extra gold for the support. Maxlore, though, he's looking for that play top lane. We've highlighted this a few times. The option to try and see if you can kill Smittyj.
This, Smittyj is at half health.
At least get some damage on the turret, and you can just slowly gain an advantage.
But Maxlore leaves because this is the issue. He has the pool available. He has the stopwatch, so it's...
Yeah, tower diving really is difficult right now.
I mean, the ulti as well, there's just so much healing that you just don't have enough time to burn through a lot of these champions. However, Maxlore is going to get fought up by Santorin. Electrocute is going to get proc. Santorin can still go in with the ultimate, is going to commit. Maxlore, quick dash out to safety.
Oh, that was
sleepy.
early. Smack? No smack.
No smack. Golden sleepy, Deficio.
Well, I got a stopwatch out early. That's something at least. For Misfits. Santorin respecting the amount of damage that could happen.
And I mean, good on Maxlore to get out. He did not have access to the stopwatch, has gone domination for a little bit more aggression, the use of that zombie ward. But now Santorin is caught in no man's land. Flag and drag, not going to come through. First blood dropping in the end for Misfits. Well played on the rotation from Mikyx.
That was almost too easy for Misfits right there. Santorin walking in to try and take the Raptor camp, and 4 members of Misfits reacting instantly. Nice first blood for them, and it's on Zoe. Very, very important here. We even see Sencux going for the early spell thieves for himself. Frost Queens later on, I'm expecting from him.
And I like this because now he got kill gold. He's gone for the more, let's call it economic route, in the sense that he's going to be producing so much gold in this early laning phase that he may be able to outmatch the Azir on items.
We got a lane swap. Let's see if they can surprise Alphari. This should be called by the bottom lane. There's a chance this is happening. Alphari plays it safe.
Flash available, crunch available, could make his way out. Of course, Braum really the only reliable source of CC there, so difficult to lock Gnar down, but honestly, Sencux is playing this mid lane incredibly well, getting the kill. Seems to look good for him.
Another thing about the Frostfang, once he actually upgrades it, is the little ghosties hitting and slowing down people is super effective when you're playing a champion that wants to land that one big CC, the bubble in this case, or just land some long-range poke. It is much harder to dodge it against this build from Sencux, and with the early kill, even easier for him.
Now he has it because it's a lost chapter as well, so not only is he going to have good damage, good economy, not going to have mana problems either, and able to one-shot those backline caster creeps. Good spot to be. Slow is going to come through. Just going to force the shifting Shands out. Good patient play from Caedrel just to back off. He knows that scaling is their win condition, not going to take any risks early on, but Mikyx not going to say the same. Chain CC does come in. Can he use the thick skin? Sleepy Trouble level is moving forward. Mikyx's going to have to flash out to safety, but Sencux just wreaking havoc on the back line.
Seeing some small trades right here. Mikyx a little bit too greedy, trying to prevent H2k from walking into the jungle. I like the swap wall from H2k to trying to see if they could get some damage on the top lane turret, but a good match from Misfits side. And now they can look to bottom lane. Once again, it's against the Vladimir. Remember, stopwatch is there. And pool, so again, they might have to just settle for some damage on the turret. Okay, Maxlore's also spotted by the ghosties.
Yep, is going to make it out. Ghosties on both sides, Deficio. And it's interesting to see how Vladimir's opt to build. We've seen on some Vladimir mid as well, and kind of the differences that pop up. Frostqueen's claim, though, appears to be a relative constant in terms of how effective it is for just an early game item.
Yeah, last patch we will see that on. Will get removed in 8.2, which we're switching to next week here in the EU LCS. So enjoy it while it's here, Smittyj and Sencux. It is so good for Vladimir, though, because when you get a proc with it, you get this mini Storm Raiders buff, 50% movement speed for a second, and you are a champion that relies so much on mobility, so it's so effective when you get into late game fights to just constantly keep the mobility going and stick to the backline.
You combine it with some item cooldown from the Summoner Spellbook, additional Summoner cooldown. It's just so easy for Vlad to get
Sick mana regen for Vladimir.
Sick mana regen. Probably not that one. Probably has not put anything towards that outside of what he absolutely has to. But now Mikyx is taunting the opponent, reminding him that he's scaling. He's scaling hard.
Scaling hard on Tahm Kench.
Do you think that's what the BM sounds like right now? Like, oh, I'm so outscaling you right now.
Oh, I'm so gonna click this W and outplay you. There's nothing you can do.
I'm gonna right click. So good in 20 minutes.
Playing such a skilled champion. Let's see if we get a fight around this one, because we have 4 Misfits members around and double TP.
As the gold is just about even. Might come down to the scaling of the individual lineups. Maxlore not keen to let this one happen. Good choice in the end, Rift Herald. Basically a tower, used effectively. Can be more, sometimes can be a little bit less.
Overall, we just kind of looking for both teams to try and change the current lane setup if they want to do anything. It's so hard right now to force the 1v1. It's 2v2 top lane against defensive. We think the game was a little bit too fast-paced, so we have now slowed it down with a pause.
It's not actually what happened. We'll find out the reason for the pause shortly, but thank you for that, Deficio.
The players, they couldn't breathe, man. It was like, so much action.
Too fast. It's been too long. Now, Deficio, this is interesting because it does feel hard in any team situation in this kind of meta where you're building these scaling compositions to make something happen. But one thing we did see from Giants in earlier games is that they've been very proactive at lane swapping. Now, H2k tried something similar a little bit early on, but Misfits are so quick at matching it that it just doesn't feel like it's going to create an opening here for H2k like it did for Giants earlier today.
That's why I want to see it from Misfits. They currently sit with 3 teleports because Mikyx with Spellbook swapped to TP as well. They also have the Tahm Kench ulti to bring a friend with them, so they can move across the map much, much faster than H2k. If they push out top lane, recall with the Tahm Kench, and instantly ulti towards the bottom side, they're going to reach that lane before H2k will, and they can actually get some damage on a turret. They can maybe push it in and see if there's another objective like a blue buff they can grab. There are definitely ways for for Misfits here to utilize triple global in terms of teleports.
Quad global with the...
Add on another one, yeah. Obviously, it's
pseudo global.
You can't use it at the same time, but still, it is there for Mikyx to use. And it's something kind of puts it in their favor if they want to make a proactive play right now.
And just as a heads up on the pause, we are just waiting for that PC restart. There were some FPS issues on the side of Alphari. Going to make sure that that gets taken care of.
Is that the same PC as last game? Or I'm had some issues with? I've got to take that PC out backstage and beat it up. Oh.
You can take it back. Well, check out Medic's takeover the Instagram story where you can see Deficio punching a computer in hopes that it'll fix the FPS issues.
Hey, I almost fixed my phone by breaking it open.
And using a blow dryer.
Hey, so far, it worked for 1 minute, and then it died again. In your arms, actually. Your job was supposed to keep it alive for more than a minute while I was getting my PC.
Your phone died in my hands.
And then the phone
That was a traumatic experience. But luckily, you don't have to hear about that, folks, because we are getting back into game. So now it's time to talk a little bit more about League of Legends, a little bit more about Misfits versus H2k.
A little bit more about farming as well, and Maxlore's beautiful hair. Oh, no, that's Sencux.
You don't think his hair's beautiful, too?
It's not as bad as...
You're going to sell out your Danish brother like that?
Fine. He has fine hair. Maxlore, next level.
Next level. Oh. It's actually 5 globals, because Sencux has 2 TPs at the moment, as he's spell thiefed 1. But none of them are getting used. I feel like Misfits might believe, and this could be wrong, but that they have the scaling advantage here, and they just want to use these TPs to stop H2k from doing anything, because they're not really making any proactive moves. And now, interestingly enough, they're giving up the Rift Herald, which feels like the first legitimate objective loss for Misfits.
So that's why we highlight the Tristana and the Gnar. Sorry, I say the Gnar because immediately I see him jump Smittyj.
Pool goes out, wall not going to connect.
But we talk about the Tristana and the Braum in the pick and ban phase thing. That is actually a lane you can play around. That lane could be more aggressive than the Vayne we saw last week from them. And they used it to push in top over and over, get, what, 12, 13 wards on the top side as well from H2K's side, and that's what gives them the Rift Herald. So good use of the pressure from Sheriff and Promisq, allowing them to get that objective, which can give an early first turret, which you need in a game like this where it's hard to otherwise break down structures.
Interesting as well.
That is, I've probably not seen that many red wards in a river area before.
Oh, that's a lot of damage. It's going to get sleepy. Sencux is going to try to redemption snipe him. Is going to connect, but is not enough to kill him. That would have been my favorite use of redemption of all time. Sadly, it will not make the list. Now we are seeing a bit more aggression, though, and as Sencux starts to ramp up, I feel like H2k are going to get a lot less comfortable sitting under those towers and waiting to scale up.
Right now, Misfits have swapped to 1-3-1. They put Sencux top lane to apply pressure there. They want to put Mikyx mid, so he can use Tahm Kench ulti from mid to either side lane in case they want to make a proactive play, or a defensive one if Mikyx needs to save one of his teammates. Alphari is still the one who's kind of winning his bottom side. You can build early MR and Gnar, so Vladimir can't kill you. You can just poke him down consistently. The bot lane tower is an opening. Right now, Sencux needs to be careful because 3 sneaky H2k members on the way.
Ooh. Gonna get his way.
Oh, look at Santorin. He knows this top lane area, man.
This is lit up.
It is so warded.
How many of these are zombie wards?
A lot of them are
God.
zombie wards.
Guys, zombie ward, it's not OP. Don't think that for a second, okay? It's not strong.
On live 8.2, we did now nerf it quite a bit in the early game, so do not listen to Drakos when he tries to tell you or hint towards you guys
Said it's
taking
not
it.
OP.
Yeah, but that was clearly sarcasm.
You
There
can't prove that.
You
I have
wanted him to
plausible
take zombie ward.
deniability.
What about that portal ward right now? Extra radius on division.
They're really keen on that. They're trying to get us to take that.
Yeah, I don't like portal ward at all.
Yeah, me neither. Unless you're really a big fan of Poros, in which case go for it. However, Maxlore just content to clear out this vision. Will scoop up.
Look at that sick gold he's getting.
1 gold.
1 gold every
This is a
time.
game of economies. Every time someone
Look
takes
at this, look at
zombie
this.
ward.
They want Sencux.
Rainbow nice knock up. Chain CC. Sencux does have the berry available.
Yeah, but he's
the
Tahm Kench.
Moving forward. Maxlore trying to make his way out. Sencux is still going to live. Good exchange of spells though. Both Summoners burned and the Hourglass.
And here we see why Misfits moved Mikyx to that mid lane, so he could instantly go top. There is a stopwatch to buy some time. H2k knows they have to back away, but now Caedrel can push mid lane. Santorin waiting in the brush as well to see if someone is dumb enough to walk down the river. The answer is a no. Everyone is smart here.
All right, important to check on the Rift Herald there. Has about a quarter of the time remaining, so H2k is going to need to find a pressure point and make a play if they want to get some value out of this. You really want more than just the initial charge, but it's very easy for Misfits to just cut through that health bar.
Oh, rip all the red wards.
Cleaned out.
There were so many wards there. Maxlore got so much CS from that as well.
His mom's at home wondering, why didn't he clean this room instead? Why was he never on top of it until his competitive gaming career?
Cleaning the area.
Santorin doing the same. This is the job of junglers.
Actually, Santorin saw the mess and then he walked away from it and said someone else is going to take care of it.
Call that the Deficio.
There we go. Hey, at least I spotted it and communicated it to someone.
So most of the time it's your mess, man.
I didn't place that ward.
That's true. Sencux, I feel like he has to be the catalyst for action here. And H2k are going to try to force some action as they lay down this Rift Herald.
Boom, boom, boom.
Can we get a Rift Herald Waddle Cam? Just as it continues. There it is.
Oh, this Rift Herald, man.
This is the moment. Rift Herald is waiting. No!
No!
Everything in Rift Herald's life has led to this moment. Ah. Anticlimactic.
At least it did something. It did charge the turret.
Yeah. When I said that usually Rift Herald guarantees a turret, in any other meta, usually Rift Herald guarantees a turret. But right now, Misfits, they do a lot of damage when someone walks into them. But H2k, as you've noticed, are not walking into them. They're not going to take these risks. They are just going to play it slow.
Typically, though, Drakos, teams have this gentleman's agreement that on 2 items, the action starts happening. You know, that's when you start looking for fights, because then Baron is alive as well. You really want to get this Infernal Drake. It's sitting right there laughing in your face. Don't want to give it over to the other team. So both teams are sitting around the river, fighting a little bit for control and see, ooh, bubble, that hit.
That's insanely long range.
Yeah, again, when you walk around in the jungle near these walls, the range of the bubble will get increased, and Sencux will hit you from weird places.
Now Misfits getting their first major objective of their own. No towers still falling. Second one, actually, as they grab their second dragon.
The crowd is going nuts right here.
They're ready. They like the sight of that Infernal. More Infernal means more kills.
If you fight.
If you fight. Yeah, okay. Kind of deflates the point, but yes, true. Now Smittyj is now a wave clear machine. You talked about 2 items being a big catalyst. Now the only people with 2 fully completed items at this stage are Smittyj and Sencux. Sencux courtesy, well, both of them courtesy of that Frost Queen Flames gold. So they are a minute or so ahead of the rest of the team. We'll see if the rest of both squads do want to fight.
And let's look at both sides then, team fight-wise, because we know it's going to come down to the big fights between the teams. Misfits, super standard in the case they have this big front line with Gnar and Senjuani in the fights. They will have Hans Sama on a scaling AD carry that is fantastic at killing frontline tanks. But sadly for Ansama, there's not that many tanks he's dealing with. It's actually a Vladimir instead who's going to flash into his face, get extra movement speed from the Frost Queens as well. And that makes it pretty difficult for Ansama to play the game, and he's going to rely a lot on Mikyx. Let's see what happens here with Mikyx. He's actually going for something.
2 members with him. They are starting to follow up. Maxlore has thrown it at Promisq Q. Not going to get locked up. Moving backwards. Alting 3 members. Sleepy Trouble Bubble does not connect, but Misfits are making moves. Start some action there on the top side. Meanwhile, Santorin just continues to clear out the jungle. H2k continue to pressure, and Smittyj appears to have advantage when it comes to pushing on the bottom side.
Smittyj is important. We just talked about how he's one of the members who can actually kill Hansama in late game fights, because Santorin's job is to see if Hansama is sitting without flash, can you ult him? So suddenly you can try and keep him in place. But Tahm Kench can once again kind of ruin the day when it comes to Santorin diving in. So he mainly just needs to buy time for the rest of his team and make sure Smittyj can actually hit the carries. Caedrel and Sheriff, we know, will be sitting in the back line, trying to hit whatever is just in front of them, unless Caedrel sees an opening to actually once again hit the back line.
And the one good piece of news, if you're Hansama and you're looking at that Vladimir and you're facing him down, is that if a piece of CC ever connects onto Smittyj, he has so much max health and so few resistances that you can tear through him incredibly quickly.
Oh, Alphari is trying to do that.
Just a lot of damage there. Smittyj is just going to pull back, though. A lot of sustain to keep him in the lane thus far. Still had both the Spooky Ghosts and the Proto Belt if he wanted to get in or get out.
I like the purchase as well with the Wit's End coming in from Ansama's side. He knows there will be a lot of AP damage going towards him. And I wonder with the Sencux and this Zoe in fights, I still think she's pretty difficult to execute in big late game team fights, just because her mobility is so weak and so much about his landing this really long-range poke. And
It feels kind of Nidalee-esque, right? Back when Nidalee was
like sit back,
find a spear, maybe you leap in for a cleanup, but when you leap in and you commit, you're obviously incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah, and when the enemy team actually runs with some engage and movement speed, they can often get onto you and force you then to like run away or use defensive summoners. And that's the thing when you look at H2k with Vladimir and Jarvan. That is actually enough to get to Sencux, and Mikyx can only save one at a time. So I think with H2k's lineup here, as long as Smittyj and Santorin shows coordination at reaching Hansama Sencux, they can kill one of these carries.
And honestly, on the side of H2k, one of the big factors, that one hit thought, Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Not going to bother to follow up there. We'll use this as a chance to get down a bit of tower damage. It's hard not to... Ooh, Caedrel. Wait, Tahm Kench?
Sama deals a lot of damage.
Yeah, definitely have to respect it. He's walking forward now. With Caedrel back, maybe this is an opportunity for Misfits to grab their first tower. But Sheriff not scared whatsoever. Unfortunately, Hansama is just much stronger on 2 items than Sheriff is.
Sheriff definitely still waiting for the rapid fire cannon for him. Sencux should be able to get this top lane tower now, unless he backs away because multiple members are on the way. He might have to play it safe. And looks like he is for now, considering at least killing the turret.
Oh.
See that right there was a little bit of a caster tip. Really slow down the last word before you say if he's actually killing the turret or not.
Oh, I see.
And then
so
you can be like,
yeah.
he is considering walking away from the turret. And he did.
I'm going to have to try it. Now I'm going to call it out next time I try it. You're going to stick with me, right? You're going to guide me through this casting thing?
It wasn't for you mainly, it was for you.
Maybe going to hit the... No, okay. I tried. I'm sorry.
Sencux here, maybe looking for something. Yes, he's looking for the minions top. And
I am so glad you didn't try to teach me when I first started casting. Sencux will grab the tower. Second tower of the game. Misfits with a 2k gold lead. What did that do to the economy that they have built up? Now,
yes.
Deficio.
Yes.
See the dramatic pause there. That's my trick, as I think of what I was going to say. We're at a point where the support matchup is really exciting to me, because as much as people probably hate seeing Tahm Kench and Braum over and over again, there's 2 things to consider. Is that I feel like Tahm Kench's ability to devour, yes, it's great at stalling out aggression. It's an insanely powerful tool to deny kills. But a good Braum Unbreakable is so, so powerful. The ability to block auto attacks from a team composition that is a lot based around Kog'Maw damage and a lot based around a single paddle star from Zoe. I think that if Promisq plays these late game fights incredibly well, that could actually give H2k a pretty big edge.
And he played really well against Fnatic in the late game, so I can definitely see the same thing here. Spot lane tower needs to die soon. Alphari's been sitting and poking Smittyj on the turret for a long time, and we have a fight!
Forward in the mid lane. Sleepy Trouble Bubble not going to connect. Maxlore is backing off, looking for a little bit more, but Sencux leaps in, leaps right back out, courtesy of the portal jump. Double TP, but one is going to get canceled.
Oh, I thought he baited that one. He canceled just last second.
Now he's going to look to grab the tower, but H2k are just going to grab one in return. Should be the one-for-one trade, but a lot of low health bars. Is either side going to look to follow up? H2k a little bit on the back foot, but do have priority control over the Baron pit.
Yeah, too low, though, to actually go for the Baron at this point here. One hit from Sencux on the Zoe, and someone is dead on the side of H2k. For now, though, mid lane turret is now open for Misfits because H2k invested all their advantage mid to take the turret and then walk up towards the river. That means it's Misfits' time to try and siege on this.
So far, best play of the game goes to Alphari on the TP bait. He has now started up the second Infernal Dragon. That's going to be 2 going over to the side of Misfits on top of the small gold lead that have been able to accrue as well. So while it does appear to be a very slow, very even game, trading back and forth, it's actually Misfits who are continuously grinding out an edge here.
Trying to land another bump. I think he hit that one. Yep, all the way up there. I think Santorin was hit by it. And this is the meta where we have the longest average game time. And we can maybe talk a little bit about why we have these really long games. A large part of it obviously comes down to very defensive options in the early game. We talk about Relic Shield, there's Stopwatch as well. These things allows these big tank supports to be played, because with double Relic Shield, it's hard to poke them out. They get a lot of extra sustain from it. You can't really tower dive them either because they have stopwatches. So it means a lot of teams can pick a lot of scaling because it's so hard to kill things in the early game due to these defensive tools. And then you get a draft where it's just safer to go for late game comps. And comps with a lot of wave clear. And that means both teams are kind of sitting and saying, well, I want to scale, you want to scale, so let's not really fight each other too much early on. And then we get games like this one here with 1 kill at 28 minutes.
And of course, it's often not worth the investment, right? If you're going to take a risk to start a fight that you're not 100% sure you can win. Because as you mentioned, there's so many strong defensive tools, and because you're both playing scaling, if you accidentally give one of these guys 2 kills early on, they become relevant so much faster. But Misfits, they're looking to make action happen 27 minutes in, are starting finally to pressure out this mid lane tower. Hansama, not scared, is taking that one down quite quickly.
Another thing is also the difference between playing scrims and playing on stage for teams. In scrims, there is more kills, more action, so you can go for more aggressive champions. On stage, everyone plays a lot safer. So going for the early game comps like Misfits did week 1 against G2, it's hard to execute it. And the moment you fall behind then with an early game draft, you kind of lost the game, because the late game comp will just beat you the remaining of the game here. Hansama is starting this Elder Drake, and by Elder Drake I mean Infernal Drake. What's the difference at this point? Baron, if you're looking at it,
considering it.
Yeah, not really.
And H2k will not start the Baron.
Great job, Drakos. You've learned already during the game.
Have a good teacher. Good
There
teacher.
we go.
Crowd very excited for that. Thank you, crowd.
Or because Infernal Drake was killed.
Oh! Yeah, you're all laughing. You've been there in solo queue. Except in solo queue, you die in one shot.
I always ban Zoe.
Yeah.
Every game.
That's a mistake you only make once, right? Letting her through.
I mean, and it's not even that you can't counter her. It's just the chance of someone messing up against.
It's like when Zed is strong. I don't ban Zed because I don't think that I can't play against Zed. I ban Zed because I don't think someone else on my team can play against Zed, right? And if anyone,
You're putting the blame on someone.
No, but here's the deal. If anybody gives Zoe a kill, Zoe gets to kill everybody. If anybody gives Zed a kill, it's the same thing, right? You can't let champions like this snowball, and unfortunately in solo queue, you only play one champion, man. You don't get to control what the rest of your laners do. So even if you're beating her in mid lane, she leaves the lane, she picks up kills somewhere else, and now she can definitely beat you.
It is true. I feel like, however, though, after every pick and ban phase, when I'm losing, I feel like there's another pick I should have banned instead, because that pick is just carrying against me. Like a Kha'Zix that pops off, or enemy Master Yi randomly just 20-0.
To summarize, Deficio and I are bad at League of Legends.
It has definitely gone downhill since the early years of
Naughty
playing League of
days.
Legends.
Once again, good Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Still very difficult to follow up, though. Misfits continuing to wage this war in the middle lane. We've hit this mid-game stride that we so often see. And good that we have time to explain it,
Again,
folks.
a little bit too much actions, so we're going to slow it down. If it's Alphari's PC again, I'm going on that stage and I'm beating that PC up. Hold me back, Drakos. If it is the PC.
We'll find out, Deficio. I don't want... It is the PC, isn't it?
It is the PC. Hold me back.
Martin,
Hold
no!
me back. I'm
Don't!
not on that stage.
Don't! You can't! It doesn't know any better. It's just a young PC. We're going to PC swap.
Get out of
We're
my
going to
face,
get him out of
then.
there.
Get out of my face.
They'll learn. They're going to take him back. They're going to teach him what happens to PCs with FPS. They're so cruel.
I want to see that PC get removed from the stage. I want to see it on camera. There's a new PC. That's a new one. Yeah, there we go. Get rid of the
Get
other
him
one.
out of here.
We want to see the PC get taken off stage. Slowly. The game, though, 30 minutes.
Okay, so what I want to talk about is we've now hit this mid-game stride that you would often see much earlier in different metas, but Vlad is in a side lane, Gnar is in a side lane, and everybody else is fighting for Baron vision. They're pushing out mid, they're fighting for Baron vision. They're
And we're
pushing it back,
waiting.
taking it back.
We're waiting for the first team to start the Baron and use it to force a team fight. Because then the other team has to come in and check what's happening. You turn around, you hit them in the face. That's kind of the next step. So far, though, both teams have been happy just trying to push down these outer turrets, which have fallen very slowly in this game.
All right, we are at 29 minutes, about 30 now, 29:58 as we are paused in game. And Hikyu did say that this is a 3 Baron meta. So
He did?
according to the Hikyu rule, as we're now going to call it, we are 18 minutes out, so 48 minutes expected time if each Baron dies immediately. So I think the lesson that we're taking away from this is that we need H2k to get on schedule. Because we're a little behind schedule right now.
But if you take the first Baron super late, is it still a 3 Baron meta?
Well, yeah, or is it just that you need 3 Barons worth of time? We might need to get Hikyu out here to answer that question for us.
Yeah, because I feel like the later you take the first Baron, the more you can mess up this rule. Wait. Did he remove it?
What? Are you
PC.
talking? Yeah, they're swapping, man. We're told PC swap. We're waiting on the PC
Oh,
swap.
Mickey.
There you see.
He's like, oh, I'm playing Tahm Kench today.
See that lip bite?
So excited.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to click some W later.
You guys want to kill somebody? Not
Nah.
gonna happen.
You guys want to have fun? Nah. I'm Tahm Kench.
This is meta about
Next patch, it's Nunu, by the way.
Nunu support. Nunu Azir bot lane.
Nunu, just anything that actually attacks really fast and
Can use AP.
likes AP.
Yeah.
I believe it's been hotfixed.
No, not that portion.
Not that portion, the unhit portion with the consume, I believe
Yeah.
it is.
Luckily, this has been... I played one game against Nunu. It was terrifying.
Did you
However,
lose?
yeah, horribly. But luckily, you don't have to hear about that. As League officials are working with the issue on stage, we're going to wait for a brief moment. While we do that, we're going to head over to the analyst desk to look at the game so far.
Thank you very much. I'm going to alleviate you guys for a while they do fix the issue or find out what the issue is. Unfortunately, not too many kills, not the crazy games. We had a couple of crazy games coming into the day, so let's take a look at that first and only blood so far and see, well, how that happened. It's going to be on your screen in just a second. A bit unfortunate it's a slower game than the ones we've seen, but at least there was a bit of action.
Yeah, so we can see here Santorin going for a bit of an invade. He thinks that he's fine to go for this kind of jungle kind of map movement, because when you look at the vision on the minimap, you can see that the H2k have full control over the enemy side of the jungle. They recognize that, look, we should have push in mid, we should have push in bot. There's no reason why this isn't safe. He doesn't respect the possibility of a Tahm Kench ult suddenly appearing up to the top side.
Vedius, that is a great analysis we love you for, and that's just why we wanted to check in. I do hear that the players are ready again. Fantastic, so casters, take it back from us.
Take it back.
Thanks, Sjokz.
And Vedius.
We're glad to be back. And Vedius. I'm not going to forget you, because my next point, Vedius, is actually about something that you said earlier. Hi, everybody. Thank you. One thing that he brought up in the Fnatic game, and the key to H2K's success, I think we can safely say, outside of the composition that they were able to build themselves, is the fact that they actually picked very good fights. Now, the question for me, Martin, is do you see some opportunities to pick good fights? Are H2K at the point where they can start trying to force fights against Misfits?
Once you have the Baron control, you can start it there. Starting the Baron, we might get our first team fight.
Forward. Sencux, one kill so far. Paddle Star going in. It's going to be a lot of burst damage.
Hiding behind it, fighting!
Moving in. Jarvan Cataclysm coming forward. The rest of the team is backing off into the middle of the pit. They want to burn this down, but Maxlore is there. Misfits looking to turn this back. Who's actually going to get the Baron? Promisq is still alive. Sheriff untouched. Smittyj has gone golden in the backside, but will get taken down. Misfits are cleaning house. They get the Baron too. Signed, sealed, delivered. H2k. Oh, God, it's all just falling apart. Misfits with the clean ace.
H2k had 5 minutes to think about that one. They were not happy. They're going to ask to replay the last minute here. before the pause, they were like, ah, yes, we know exactly what to do. Go Baron. Every single player was sitting on stage and thinking, okay, this is how I will be the hero of this Baron play. We're going to start it. Some of us are going to turn for some reason. Some of us are not going to turn and stay behind the Baron. And so it's going to deal more damage to us.
It feels like it could have been the right play. I feel like H2k...
Yeah, all 5 need to turn.
Because see, for Misfits, it's easy. Guys, get in the pit. For H2k, it's a little bit harder. Do we get into the pit? Do we get out of the pit? What is the choice? Misfits have one choice, executed on it beautifully. Get the Baron.
Yeah,
get the ace. 6-0. Suddenly a massive goal lead in their favor. 58k to 51.3.
It appears that Alphari is once again unhappy with his PC.
This is unfair. To all the Alphari just wanted his volume adjusted. I was about to make a giant rant about how computers hate Alphari. Sorry, computers. That's not fair to you.
Oh, it's the volume.
Volume adjusted, yeah.
Wait, so he did this without hearing anything? They just killed 5 for 0? What's going to happen when he can hear them?
He's like Daredevil. He takes 1 sense away, the rest just gets strong. Deficio.
That was a very good fight from Misfits. I'm sure the moment we get back into this game, we will replay that fight. H2k, after spending 5 minutes to figure out how to go for Baron, they went for it.
They might also just be like taking inhibitors when we come in. So I think we might wait on the replay.
Okay, fine, but we will get the replay at some point. I will promise you guys that.
It's a commitment from Deficio. My commitment is that we're going to get back into the game right now.
Hey, we're back in the game. And guys,
all right, they have a Baron, the first of 3.
Hey, yeah. That's the replay. Okay, so H2k, everyone needs to go out of this Baron pit together to take the fight or jump over the wall. Santorin is the only one who gets the message of going outside of the Baron to then flash back into the Baron. And now you're stuck in the Baron pit, taking damage from everything and the Baron itself. That was a really strange call from H2k, not going for Baron at first, but actually then how they turned. Only one.
Wait, Misfits!
They're trying to win the game!
No, this is way ahead of schedule. You're not allowed to do this.
3 Barons!
You've at least 12 more minutes.
Wait, can they actually kill the Nexus?
Oh, they are moving in, though.
Nexus?
They are looking for a little bit more. Misfits, gonna break in all the rules. 31-minute game time. What is this? Was it the fastest game in Europe?
Alphari just needs a new PC, and he wins the game?
Alphari unleashed. Misfits Gaming win in the end. From no action at all to an instant explosion of action. 1 shot, 1 kill. All the offers out there in CSGO would be proud of the Misfits.
Fair to say that that ended up being one of the worst Baron fights we've seen in the EU LCS. It actually meant that you lost the entire game in a matter of 2 minutes.
That's the power of scaling. And that was not the fastest game despite my excitement.
Today it was.
Oh. All right, but there was one faster last week, so.
Yeah, but today this was the fast one, and everyone at home were
the fastest one in my heart.
Everyone at home were thinking to themselves, this is a slow meta. Every game will take 40, 50 minutes, and then Misfits prove you wrong.
And this is a game that when you look back and analyze, luckily for H2k, they look and they go, okay, Baron communication needs to improve. Because there was only one issue, because there was only one thing that happened, and that was the Baron.
Yeah, luckily we had Vedius earlier breaking down the first blood, crucial part of the game, that ended up deciding almost everything. Except for the Baron, which was, I guess, slightly more important than Santorin dying at Raptor.
Vedius didn't break that down, though.
He did not. Very disappointed in him, but what a strange game in a lot of ways, because we had farming, hitting turret, farming, hitting turret, farming, hitting turret. Misfits saying, oh, H2k is a Baron. H2k is saying, wait, why are we in Baron? Why are we in the Baron pit? What's happening? We're all dead now. And then the game is over. That was a quick recap, in case you didn't watch the game.
Yeah, except the issue was that Misfits went, hey, they're in the pit, and H2k with 4 different voices said 4 different things about why they were in the pit and what their plan was. So it just felt like a lack of coordination, because I feel like they could have just gotten out.
So, let's see, they could use Jarvan EQ over the wall, Azir can dash over the wall, Tristana can jump over the wall,
Braum
and
can leap over.
Braum can, of course, leap over. So they actually could very easily get out of the Baron pit if they wanted to, but Santorin and I think the rest of H2k were committed, or somewhat committed, to taking a fight. They just all didn't follow at the same time. So it was only Santorin that came out and then flashed back in. And then they tried to hide behind the Baron. But the Baron gets really mad then and does this weird thing where he's like, you know, and then bam, he just starts hitting you in the back.
Is that what it does?
You know, like,
all right.
It looks like something else.
Well, hold on, Deficio. Don't forget to choose your player of the game. You can head on over to LO Esports on Twitter. Be sure to vote in our poll. We've narrowed it down to Hansama, Maxlore, and Sencux.
All the Baron.
Technically not an option, but mix it up, audience. Tune in after the break for the results. Find out who won.
Could also be Alphari's new PC. 100% win rate for that new PC. Was only on stage for a few minutes.
The PC, the Baron. There's 3 real choices. Those
Crowd loves
aren't
the
it.
PC.
Crowd does love the PC. We'll find out what Alphari makes of Misfits win when we come back. We'll also see if Vitality can take their 3rd win in a row as they face a tough opponent in Fnatic. All that's coming up after the break. Give the crowd what they want. A little bit more aggression using that zombie ward. But now Santorin is caught in no man's land. Flag and drag, not going to come through. First blood dropping in the end for Misfits. Paddle Star going in. It's going to be a lot of burst damage. Oh, hiding behind them, fighting! Moving in. Jarvan Cataclysm coming forward. The rest of the team is backing off into the middle of the pit. They want to burn this down, but Maxlore is there. Misfits looking to turn this back. Who's actually going to get the Baron? Promisq is still alive. Sheriff untouched. Smittyj has gone golden in the backside, but will get taken down. Misfits are cleaning house. They get the Baron too. Signed, sealed, delivered. 12 more minutes.
Wait, can they actually kill that next?
Oh, they are moving in though.
Nexus?
They are looking for a little bit more. Misfits breaking all the rules. 31-minute game time. What is this? Was it the fastest game in Europe?
Alphari just needed a new PC and he wins the game.